We've got Stephen Box in from Vanguard Tactics, and we're going to be putting some questions to him that you guys have submitted over the next couple of videos. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure. For those of out there who don't know who you are, just tell us a little bit about Vanguard Tactics.
So Vanguard Tactics is a 40k tactic-based channel. So if you're into Warhammer 40k and you want to become a better 40k general, then hopefully my channel will kind of help you out there. And that's exactly everything that I've dedicated myself to. I've got some free courses that you can do if you want to, sort of take your learning to that next level. And I've even got a year-long mentorship course. Yeah. So if you really want to delve deep, really want to become the best general and feel comfortable at the tabletop, no matter what you play or who you play against, then that is the course for you. So yeah, that's everything I do really, is everything tactical, strategy-based in competitive Warhammer 40k.
Cool. Well, anyway, like I said, thanks for coming on. Really good person to follow if you want to just up your 40k game. And we're going to be putting some questions to you.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so one of the first questions we've had submitted, Steve, is about types of terrain. So James Wallace has asked, can you tell us more about the types of terrain in various tournaments?
Yep.
How to use them, for example, L-shapes in Nova, ruins in the ITC, hills and low terrain in others. So some examples of terrain usage in competition.
Yeah, really good question. And just to quickly clarify, if you're not familiar with some of the terms used there, Nova is one of the biggest competitions in America. Okay. And then the ITC is basically a format of competitions, again, that are completely global now, but was started by Frontline Gaming. So if you're not familiar with those terms, don't worry about it too much. It's just a different event, essentially. Okay. Now, basically,
Just keep going.
Now, basically, we've got, like I said, very sort of diverse terrain. We've got some here, for example, we've got ruins. Ruins are really, really common in most phases of the game. Yeah, we've got what would you even call this?
It's kind of like a shipping container.
A shipping container.
From the dark, grim future.
Yeah, a shipping container.
We've got skulls on it.
We've got craters, you've got woods, all this kind of stuff, okay? Can you pass me the enclosed ruin down there? That's a really important one we're going to talk about, because this is a real unique thing. So,
this out of the way for you.
Basically, your typical ruin, like you've just seen, normally L-shaped, comes on a base.
So that's what this person's referring to with L-shaped ruin.
Yeah.
Or L-shaped is that.
Exactly. Now,
corner of a building cleaved off.
Exactly. Sometimes there's different levels. Sometimes there's not. They're just completely right up to the top there.
You can see those there.
Now, normally in competitive play, and as far as I'm aware, the ITC, the ETC, and also Games Workshop competitive tournaments say that any bottom level, so obviously wherever the floor is, the bottom level, even if the windows are popped out, they actually count as being blocked. Okay. Right. The reason for that is so that it gives you a chance to hide models. All right, so you don't just get shot off the table. Game one, and that's really good to practice with. We've done another video, haven't we, that might be coming out soon, all about this stuff in a lot more detail, but anyway.
So that's to make it more competitive, more fair, more tactical from very melee-heavy teams.
Yeah, so you can hide behind it. Now, the way to use this is that different units can interact with it differently, but I'm going to give you a really advanced tip here, is that if you've got infantry models, you want to place the entire unit behind it. Now, one thing that we do say in competitive play is if you are touching the terrain, even if your model, so let's say we've got an infantry model here, if they're touching the terrain in any way, shape or form, even if you're shooting from this way, you still get a cover save, as long as you're touching it.
You're hunkered down against it, that's part of the rules.
Exactly, but only if your entire unit is doing it. So if you've got a 5-man unit, all 5 models need to be touching it. Does that make sense?
Right, so you can't be using this 2-inch distance spread out thing. The whole thing has to be touching.
Yeah, but a lot of people have confused that with your entire base has to be wholly on it.
Inside the terrain.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't work like that. So
clarify that for us. You only get the cover if your entire unit is all in contact with the scenery piece, no matter what direction you're being shot from.
Exactly. It makes it super clean, even if you feel like, it's not really thematic, because obviously a tank could be right here shooting him, like this one, but it keeps it clean.
These are competitive rules, they're black and white.
It makes it much easier. So when you play in a competitive tournament, you want to say to your opponent, and this I'd always recommend this, number one, read the mission pack.
Yep.
because there could be different opinions on how to use terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Some things grant cover saves, some things don't, like a hill doesn't. For
Yep.
example, you could be on a hill, but it's not going to give you any cover. Things like these can slow down charge range. This is a crater, by the way, so this actually slows down your charge. So if you're fighting against an orc army,
Yeah.
and they're going to charge you, where do you want to be? On the other side of this, right?
Right.
Because it's going to slow them down,
So you're
okay?
using- yeah, makes sense.
Exactly. So there's little tactics in the game, and this is something that we go over quite a lot on, obviously, on the channel and things. But and we'll do more videos on this as well to explain to you guys in detail some of this minutia. But I'm just trying to give you a general overview. So yeah, like just make sure you are using this in regards to vehicles.
Yeah.
The way that they get a cover save is that again they just need to be touching it. So they're
Any part of the vehicle.
any part of the vehicle. Now.
So the die-hard thematic people won't like that, but it's competitive, like you said. It's black and white.
Exactly. It keeps it super clean and simple. So you just say to your opponent, "Rich, I'm touching cover."
No interpretation needed.
Yeah. You declare your intent. I'm touching cover, Rich, and then if my model's 50% obscured, then I get the +1 to my save.
And that's for the vehicle specifically.
Yeah. So if I'm 50% obscured, but I'm not touching cover, I don't get the cover save.
Right.
I have to be touching it.
So from 50% obscured, does that now use line of sight rule?
Yeah.
So from this side, the vehicle doesn't get the cover.
Exactly.
But if it's a unit, it does.
So the infantry model
If it's an infantry unit,
always gets it.
but the vehicle has to be actually visually obscured.
50% obscured.
And that's the competition rules differences.
Yeah, that's
for that.
exactly that. You in a lot of the other things are very similar. Now, one thing I do want to touch on is this: an enclosed ruin.
Okay.
It's clearly a building, right?
Yeah.
Now, if there's a building in 40k, it's the grim dark. It's a ruin.
Okay.
Okay. None of them are useful to us. So. Now, obviously, you can fly on top of there if you've got the fly keyword,
Flying
which
tank.
this one has.
Does it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If he's touching it,
Yeah.
again, he'll still get a cover save if he's 50% obscured from the other direction.
Yeah.
But infantry models can move through them as if infantry can move through ruins anyway, but they can actually hide in there.
Right.
Okay, which is a really good tactical play.
And is that more defensive?
Yeah,
than
100%.
just being touching and obscured.
Because they can't even shoot you.
Oh,
Because
you can't target somebody who's in a building.
Because the whole building is
Right.
completely blocked off.
So it is used as if they were going through the inside of a ruined building.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to fire a shot.
So it just means this brings some really good balance to the game. So, for example, Eldar flyers are a really hot pick at the moment. They're just flying around, but they can't shoot you if you're inside there.
Right.
There are some weapons in the game that means you can basically mortar or
bombard
shoot,
it. Yeah.
shoot out a line of sight, which can target them. It does mean you can't shoot out,
Yeah.
but if you've got a combat-based army,
Yeah.
you want to push as many models into here as possible. Okay? Now, just to make sure your games are fair, guys, make sure if you are using enclosed ruins, maybe there's only a couple, and try to put them in the centre of the battlefield.
You could have an army of orcs charging from building to building.
You don't want that. So having two big ones in the middle of the field works quite well and is very competitive to give a good balance to the game. So hopefully that summed up, 40k terrain in a more competitive scene,
Yep.
and gives you a really good, clean way of playing the game going forward with terrain.
Right, well, thanks for answering that question. I think that was a pretty good answer, to be fair. I now understand it more, and so do you guys. Thanks
No
very
worries.
much, Steve.
Cool, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was.